Misha, you'll have to give me a thumbs up.
We are live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live session here at the Norn Way. We're very excited to be here with our very special guests, Jeff Heggie and his daughter Tia. We've had Mr. Jeff Heggie, with us on one of our first live shows, which was a total hit with all of you. And we're very excited to have him again. And he's been very gracious to, come here again. And we welcome his daughter Tia, who's joining us with him. Just quickly introducing them both. Jeff Heggie is a very renowned success business coach. He has been coaching for quite a while. He has these amazing online podcasts where he talks about and trains his clients and students about personal development, self growth, high achievements, how to become a high achiever, how people can, perceive their goals and actually achieve them. He does a series of, courses. The ones that I'm really fond of are his mindset, course and his high achiever courses. And he does a number of things that he's going to talk about on this show. I could just go on and on. Very, very impressive and very, very inspiring person to us all. And I think to a lot of people. We're very happy to have you, Jeff. Welcome. And about his daughter, welcome, Tia. We're very happy and excited to see you and have you here. And briefly introducing Tia, she's a 20-year-old, very ambitious, high-achieving individual. She's a basketball player. She is somebody, she just recently got married. She also hikes, very athletic, very sporty. And recently, Tia has gotten on the journey of advocating and pursuing mental health awareness, and which is something that I think is so brave and courageous of her. And Tia will be also sharing her own personal journey and as to how she embarked upon this, this journey of mental health advocate, being a mental health advocate, and how she's wanting to do different things and what it is that her mission is. So very happy to have you both. Thank you for being here. How are you both doing, Jeff and Tia?
Hey, thanks for having me again. I appreciate that, and I think it's a special opportunity that you invited me to be here with my daughter Tia. And yeah, I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, we're super excited for this. We're doing good.
That's absolutely fantastic. Jeff, we've had you before, and last time you were here, you talked about, how you're this amazing coach, and you really are, because Misha has really, really benefited from a lot of your courses and a lot of your mentoring and coaching. But recently, you want to tell us more about what you've been doing, like recently, what it is that's, sort of pushing you, inspiring you. What is it that you're going after, the various things that you're involved in?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, and it's been fun to watch you guys since I've been on your show the first time and what you guys have developed. It's been really cool to see what the Norn Way has developed as a team. But I've continued with a lot of the same things I was working on back then, but have really expanded into a few areas as I've studied more and more about the mental aspect of it and really how to become more successful through personal development. I do a lot of business coaching focused on helping people improve their businesses. And, I was talking yesterday with one of my clients about how she hired me a year ago, and we were focused on her business, and we have hardly spent any time on her business. We've spent all our time on her personal development and developing her confidence, her mindset, and those things. And in turn, she has two businesses and they both have just taken off. And I think that's one of the big aspects of what I do is, if you really want to be successful and if you really want your businesses to be successful, you've got to take care of yourself first. You've got to have the capacity to do the things that you're trying to achieve, and you've got to know how to take care of yourself so that you can be successful on your own, and in turn that's going to help you be successful in your businesses. It's going to help you be successful with your employees and all those things. And so I've spent a lot of time doing that, and in turn also, I've been a basketball coach for 20 years, and I love working with athletes, and so I've started to work a lot more with athletes as well on the same aspects, because then I really believe that in sports, the things you learn in sports roll into real life. There's a day that your sporting career comes to an end, but you continue on. And the things you learn, whether it's leadership, whether it's confidence, all those things are going to help you as an entrepreneur, as a family person, and just as a person in general. And so that's another aspect. A lot of the things I'm teaching on the business side and the personal development side, I'm working with athletes as well, doing the same thing. And that's something Tia and I have worked together since she was a little girl on that aspect of it. And my hope is the things that I taught her as an athlete are helping her as a grown-up now.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. And I do remember you mentioning that you're also a sports coach, and you train athletes and you coach athletes, and how you're coaching your daughter. And I think one of the points that you brought up, which I find to be very true and relevant, is that regardless of whatever venture or career path you want to be on, it's absolutely critical to first sort of have that self-development and find yourself and your potential, and really have clarity in what it is that you're going after. Because a lot of us tend to have these huge amazing, glamorous, maybe, or high achieving goals and dreams, but there's no clear sort of strategy or path, or a mindset that is going to help you get there. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, and that is something, I think that is your niche, and that's something you've talked about a lot. You've talked about mindset, and you've talked about having the right mindset. So do you want to talk a bit more about that, like, for example, with Tia, like you said that you've been coaching her since she was a little girl, and you coach different athletes, but how is it that having a certain mindset sort of grooms you and primes you to success?
Yes,
Absolutely.
and yes, continue, Jeff. And in continuation to Dr. Sana's question, since I've been taking your courses for a year now, the Momentum Series course and the High Achievers Mindset course, what I loved about was the concept of growth and fixed mindset. So I would appreciate that if you can just shed light on both of these mindsets. So let's just over to you.
Yeah. So as Dr. Sana was mentioning, without clarity and a real direction on where you're going, I mean, a way to look at that is it's a ship without a rudder. If you have a ship and you put it out into the sea with no rudder, you don't know where it's going, right? You've got to have that direction and clarity on where you're going. Now, when it comes to the growth and fixed mindset, that's something Tia and I have talked about a lot. Is as I've studied this more, as I've learned about it more and worked with people on it, there were things that I did with her as a coach growing up that, without knowing, because I wasn't educated in this aspect at the time, I think I was helping to implement part of a fixed mindset into her just because I didn't know better. And I really believe it's the you've heard the saying, if I knew then what I know now. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's truth. I think if I knew then what I know now, I could have helped her be a better athlete. I could have helped her overcome some of the things in an easier way than we did. But really, with a fixed mindset, you're so fixed on the process. And a good example of it is when you have failure. Many
Yes.
people with a fixed mindset, when they have a failure, they look at it as, I'm a failure. Where someone with a growth mindset is more apt to learn from the experience and look at the process and continue to grow from it, and believe that they can change, believe that they can adapt to it and create better things out of it. Where someone with a fixed mindset is so fixed on how they believe things are happening that those things can't change, and it's they're just going to keep pounding, trying to get it to work, whether it works or not. Where with a growth mindset, you learn from the experience, you adapt, and you make the changes so you can be more successful. And a lot of times how this all comes about is when you're so focused on the outcome more than the process.
Yeah.
So for
Agree.
example, one of the things with Tia when she was young was she wanted to be able to compete and make some specific teams, high level teams. And fortunately, she was able to do that. Now, that's great that she did that. But I think if we also would have put more focus on the process of how she developed as she got to that point, I think it would have just given her the ability to grow more as an athlete, as a person in general. So do you want to talk on that some?
Yeah, I just think it's been interesting to look back now that we know the growth versus fixed mindset and how different things could have turned out if we were more focused on the growth rather than the fixed mindset of things. And I think it's been interesting because at the same time that my dad's been figuring this out in my personal life, I've been figuring it out as well. And it
Yeah.
makes it so much easier when you're able to transition that fixed mindset to the growth mindset in every aspect of life, whether that's just your personal life in sports or business. Once you're able to focus more on the growth than the fixed, it changes everything.
It changes absolutely everything. And you're so right, Tia. And, I was listening to Jeff, and then you said the same thing. And that really resonated with me. Of course, failure is something we all experience. And it's inevitable. Am I clear, by the way? You guys can hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
you are. We can absolutely.
So,
Right.
failure is something that is inevitable, and it is something that everybody experiences at different points in their life. And you talked about the fixed mindset, the growth mindset, and I think that is so relevant and that is so important to talk about because I think a fixed mindset is also got to do with how you are conditioned and perhaps raised in the society. People tend to success.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, we missed that last part.
Dr. Sana, can you?
Sorry. No, I just said that, you were talking about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, and it's a kind of a conditioning, and it's done from a very early age. And I was hearing you bring up, it almost sounded like it was a regret. And I want to sort of touch on that part where you said that, had I known. But do you really think that, if you have to move forward, and I know personally, and a lot of people who stay in the past and they keep, ruminating and sort of blaming themselves if only I'd done past that point. And that's a limiting kind of an experience. How does, if somebody's stuck in that, how do they break out of it?
Yeah, I'd like to talk on a few things about that because, as you're right, yeah, I can look back on it and say I wish we would have had a more of a growth mindset philosophy around everything we were doing. But at the same time, I don't have any other regrets that through that process because we both learned a lot and the experiences were fantastic. And you're right, Dr. Sana, that a lot of especially kids coming up, they learn their mindsets mostly through their parents. And so the advantage is it is a learnable skill. And so as
Yeah.
you're able to discover these things and understand more what a growth mindset is, then you can start implementing these things. And there's going to be times right now I'll be doing something and I'll have a fixed mindset about it. And maybe I catch it, maybe I don't. The advantage is knowing the difference is you can say, I'm really looking at this from a fixed mindset point of view. And I need to open up about it and look at how I can do it from a growth mindset. Going back to what you were saying about failure. Yeah, failure is inevitable. It happens. And a lot of times it's encouraged because it means you're pushing forward and finding success. But it doesn't change the fact that when you're the one failing, it's not fun. And so that's what's important about understanding the difference, because when you're actually the one going through a failure, it's important to understand it beforehand, because if you're trying to say, okay, I need to learn about a growth mindset because I'm going through this failure, it's kind of too late at that point. You need to be able to understand it so that when you're going through that experience, you can say, okay, I'm going through this experience and I'm approaching it with a fixed mindset. Let me stop and analyze the situation, and what do I need to do to take it from more of a growth mindset point of view.
I'd like to ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
go
continue,
ahead.
Dr. Sana.
No,
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
want to know what your views are on this as well. Because of course you're very young and you're this 21-year-old and you're an athlete. So like, you talked about how, the process matters, and you've learned that the outcome isn't really what one should be focused on. However, it is important and one should keep pushing for, to achieve that outcome. But like, would you want to like maybe relate a personal experience where you felt failure and you felt like, and how did you overcome it? I know your dad coaches you, and that's a great advantage and to have.
Yeah, I guess just like going in my entire years in like grade school and high school, I was one of the top players on our team. And during that time, I feel like I had a very fixed mindset that that's where I had to be to succeed. And then going into college, where there's all of these top athletes coming together, they're all like the best players on all of their teams. I wasn't the best player on my college team. And so that time, I didn't have a fixed mindset anymore. It was more of a growth. And so if I had my fixed mindset, I would have looked at that situation and said, okay, I'm not the top on my team anymore. I'm the worst, like I'm a failure, and I could have taken that completely wrong. But because I've had that growth mindset that my dad has taught me, that made it so it was an opportunity to get better and to succeed. Instead of looking at it as, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about it, it was, okay, let's work hard and practice more so that I can grow and get better.
Oh, absolutely, Tia. The way you have explained it, that's how when I experience
All
some
right.
kind of
That's great. That's good
adversity,
to know.
yeah, and
Misha
whenever,
had said,
yeah. So whenever I have some certain kind of adversity, so I also go back and practice what I've learned in that high achievers mindset course, that how to shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So it's sometimes kind of hard. It's really hard. Every day is a new battle, but once you get, it's just like yoga or something, going to starting developing a new habit. So that's what I learned from that. And one of our viewers also asked Jeff a question for you, that how can we change from like change a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? So can you just quickly add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a big part of it is understanding that it's all a learning process and focusing on the process and what you are learning as you're going throughout it. Now, I don't want to get this wrong. Like, having a growth mindset doesn't mean your goals and winning and all those things aren't important anymore. But it means that if you have a failure, if you have a struggle, whatever it is, you're learning from it, you're growing from it. And so it's, how do you do it? Like Tia was just giving her example, looking at a situation where you come in and you're not in the position you thought you were before, where you're not the very best on the team. Well, rather than looking at that as, well, I'm not the best, I'm a failure, and there's nothing I can do about that. Having a growth mindset means, okay, what do I need to do to improve myself? What do I need to do to practice harder? What do I need to do to take this situation and make the best out of it for myself, for my team, and everyone around me? And so it's really looking at the situation and knowing that you have control. You can do things to change it, that it's not fixed, that it's not, this is how it is, end of story. There's a way that you can take the situation and make it better for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I believe Dr. Hafsa has a question for Jeff.
go ahead.
A question for both Jeff and Tia. I find it very, very inspiring how she's developed a lot of growth in her life to be able to come out and speak to people about such difficult topics as depression and anxiety, something we're all having a lot of difficulty with. Uh, do you think your mentoring, your coaching, as a in the process of developing a growth mindset, had much to do with your choices on what you're doing at the moment, in terms of your in terms of you advocating mental health?
I think the growth versus fixed mindset helped a lot when I developed anxiety and depression, because right from the beginning I knew it was something that I didn't want to be afraid of. And so throughout my journey the past 3 years with it, I've never shied away from talking about it. I've always been really open with it, and which has helped me so much deal with it, but also help others realize that it's not something like that you need to be ashamed of. And so, right from the beginning, having that growth mindset of, okay, I have this, and it's something that I'm going to take and learn and grow and get better with, rather than, okay, I have depression, I have anxiety, like there's nothing that I can do about it. Like I'm just going to be depressed for the rest of my life. Like, and just like taking that, if you take that with a fixed mindset, you're just going to keep digging yourself into a deeper hole of depression. And so I think with mental health, this growth versus fixed mindset is so important to change your view on what you're dealing with. Because if you're continuing going with mental health, depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever it is, with a fixed mindset, like you said at the beginning, you have to work on yourself before other things can start happening. And so if you really work on having that growth mindset with your mental health, not being afraid to talk about it, wanting others to know that you're there for them to talk to you about their problems, that is going to be a huge turning point for your mental health. Once you're able to grasp that growth mindset of the mental health aspect of, okay, this is something that's normal, a lot of people deal with it, then your journey of getting better with it is going to go so much faster than if you have that fixed mindset.
Absolutely. I think that's very well said. And, I mean, just to put in my 2 cents, I would say that, depression, anxiety, especially given the kind of times that we are living in, with COVID and with how competitive things have become, and the internet and the digitalized world. It's something that I think most individuals do suffer or face at any point in their lives. And what is important is to, because I feel like it's still stigmatized and it's still tabooed. It's something of a taboo, and that is why people and individuals find it hard to bring it up. But like we were talking earlier, and I brought up that, as soon as you break that barrier and you have that courage, which I think you were very courageous, considering you're so young, and you just come out and you say, this is what's happening with me, you realize that, gosh, all that fear and all that, a fear of judgment or a fear of a lashback that I was fearing was such weighing on me so much, whereas this is so easy. And then you find yourself connecting with more and more people. And I think that is the whole point behind mental health and what you're doing, Tia, is that, you're just reaching out to people, youngsters, people your age, people who are older than you, athletes, students, I think everywhere. And that's what your dad does. And we're trying to do that to some extent, that, let's not, let's come out and talk about it, because this is something I feel in the age that we live in. And I don't know, I mean, about other times, but like I was saying the other day, that I feel it's like a multitude of emotions and, reactions that a human being suffers, and it just turns into something overwhelming. And if you reach out for support or help, it just only gets better. So there should be no shame attached to it. There should be no judgment, and we should all have that openness. and acceptance that people go through it, and it's very normal. And so I really admire you for that. Now, again, going back to Tia, since you are our new guest, we're more is sort of, we're very inspired with you. So do talk about, how you think you opening up and you getting that, bringing up that courage has helped your friends or anybody who was suffering, or any impact or any story that you have to tell regarding this particular subject, which is mental health, depression, anxiety. Somebody who's afraid to speak up, and you might have helps them.
For sure. Well, about 2 years ago is when I really opened up to it, and I put it on. I had a 5-minute video I made of myself and put it on Facebook, and it was an overwhelming response of love that I got from friends, family, strangers about how they thought it was so brave to share about it and how they deal with the same thing and how it was inspiring to them. And ever since that video and me seeing the response from it, I have really been open to talking about it. This last, when did we coach the junior high girls?
Spring.
So yeah, this last spring we coached a girls basketball team together, young girls. And one of my main priorities was getting them all a journal to write in. And so they would write in it after their practice about how they felt that they did, what they did good, something they can work on. And once a week, before practice, we would sit down and we would go over one of my dad's podcasts and talk about how they were doing mentally. And I think that was like so important for me to do for them at such that young age, for them to realize and hear about my experiences dealing with mental health, that it's not foreign to them to hear about. Like, I think it's so important that we make the younger generation hear about it more and hear our experiences with it. Because growing up, we didn't hear about people struggling with depression or anxiety. And if we did, it was something that they should be ashamed of, or it was bad. And so if you're talking to someone younger than you or someone that looks up to you, and you talk to them about a situation where you've been struggling with depression or you've been struggling with anxiety, they're going to look at you and say, wow, they just shared that experience with me. And that's something that I'm struggling with, but that's something that I shouldn't be afraid of because they're getting through it and so can I. And so I think it's so important to share your experiences with people, share your experiences with friends, family, strangers, just so that it can become something more normal to talk about and normal to help each other with.
Yes, absolutely. So, and of course, like, it's also that realization that you get and that encouragement that I'm not alone, right? Because you tend to feel very isolated when you're hiding, and when you're suffering away alone, and when you're not talking about how you're feeling and what you're dealing with. There's that, and I think that feeling of I'm alone and feeling of being isolated makes it worse. So to actually come out and connect and get help and support, makes you realize that, what, I'm not alone, and there are people here to help me, and the journey only gets better. So I mean, it's very inspiring that what you're doing, and kudos to you. And
And
Jeff.
the way she is creating small badges, because I follow her page, that how she promotes the mental health part, and then
Yeah.
sending the small pieces of badges of joy, and then the way she's creating an awareness, it's quite amazing.
Wow.
People should go and follow her page, because that's what gives somebody who's older than us, like that, we didn't think about that way, that if you can create some kind of resources or stickers or badges like that, so people like young lot can feel better. Because I've been teaching to a lot of undergraduate students, and they also experience this anxiety and everything. So it's like, why and there's like, we can't do anything. So after taking that course, I was like, why do you even have an excuse of that? Try to do something about that. So we just started practicing those set of questions that on that course that I've took. So this really helps the younger lot to just discuss, and also I just trained them that it's okay to cry sometimes, that you all go cry. Not that I told you to cry, then your parents will come and talk to me. Oh, Miss Misha asked us to cry. It's just that it's good to cry in private and have those emotions and experience those emotions. Because the other day I was listening to Tony Robbins. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel bored. It's okay to feel
Absolutely.
everything. But that's how we need to train ourselves. It's not that all the time we need to feel happy or joyful and everything. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're and since you brought that up, and I want Tia to tell us about that page of hers. What exactly is that page about, and the stickers she's mentioning? So tell us more about that. How have you created it? What inspired you? And so our viewers can go and check it out, especially the youngsters who are watching us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just my Instagram. It's Tia Brooke Boyd. I just got married, so my last name's Boyd now. And I think social media has been the best place for me to be open about it. A lot of people shy away from really exposing their feelings on social media and trying to make their lives look more than it is. But for me, it's like, no, I want to tell everyone exactly how I'm doing when I'm not doing good, but when I'm doing good, my highs and lows. And with that, when I came home, I went to Canada for 2 years and I came back, and I really just wanted to um, really advocate for mental health. And so on my Instagram, I just told everyone that I was selling mental health stickers. And one of my favorite NBA players, he struggles with mental health, and he came out about it and was just like, it's been very inspiring for people to see such a high figure come out about his mental health. And his name's Kevin Love. And so he has a Kevin Love fund, a Kevin Love foundation, that their entire foundation is solely to focus on mental health and helping those around them. And so I was selling my stickers, and the funds from my sales would go towards his foundation. And so it it was really good. It was awesome. We raised a lot of money, and I want to start it up again. I have a sticker collection, but I'm wanting to make more just because they are mental health stickers, which I love. And
Just give us a few sort of labels as to what those stickers are. So one she Misha mentioned is joy, right?
yeah, so I designed all of them, and my big theme is end the stigma, because there's so many stigmas around mental health, and that's what I'm like trying so hard to break, is that it's not taboo, it's something normal now. And so a lot of them are
Absolutely.
to do with ending the stigmas and surrounding mental health. And so yeah, what's the website is yours? Well, it's
So
yours.
Dad, do
Yeah.
tell you about the website.
Yeah, it's jeffheggie.com/end the stigma. And so the stickers are sold on there. But yeah, and then we just give a portion to the Kevin Love Fund.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's just another, that's another example and sort of an accolade of how when you connect, when you come in, how you connect and how you can make a difference, right?
Yes,
So you're making
exactly.
these stickers and you're helping fund somebody else who's doing the same, who's pushing for the same cause and who's struggle with the same, um, you know, depression or anxiety or whatever mental health issue. So that is the importance of, why it should not be stigmatized and why we should be more open and we should come out and reach out and accept it in our societies. Now, Jeff, question to you, for you is, you know, uh, since you're a mentor and you're a coach and you help people, in personal development and growth, what do you feel about, social norms and labels and stereotypes and sort of the judgments that we have and the different labels and you must have seen that in a lot of high achieving individuals how people tend to develop limiting beliefs around them. So what do you
Uh,
feel about not holding, not letting those social norms or those stigmas and labels or mandates, how do you feel about it, and how do
Absolutely.
you think we can combat that?
Um, I think we allow stigmas and social norms to hold us back a lot. In fact, I talked about this on one of my podcasts just recently. And just to give you an example, if you take a bottle and fill it full of fleas, and then you put the lid on it, fleas jump around and they do everything. And as they keep hitting the top of it, they figure out where that lid is. If you just leave them for 3 days and then take that lid off, they will never jump out of that bottle. They've put a limit on where they can jump and what they can do. And once they figured out that they can't get out of the lid, they stop trying. And all it takes is for one of them to jump out, and then they'll leave. And that's what we do with our social norms. We create limiting beliefs. We create barriers for ourselves because we believe that's what we're capable of. And, as we look at things throughout history, you look at Roger Bannister, who forever, a human cannot run a 4-minute mile. It was just believed that it couldn't happen. And then he does it. And it was a month and a half later, another person did it, and then another. And everyone looked at it as such a physical barrier. But once someone broke it and people realized it's not impossible, it's been done hundreds of times since then. And so we really allow stigmas, social norms, whatever, to hold us back. And especially if we've got a fixed mindset, going back to what Tia was talking about, with a fixed mindset, she would have never talked about her mental health, because it's like what I said at the first, someone with a fixed mindset looks at a failure as I'm a failure. So she would have looked at a mental health sickness as her problem, as not as a sickness that she couldn't deal with. And so she probably would have never addressed it that way.
I just have something to add.
Absolutely.
I just think it's important to anyone listening to know that it's a constant fight for me. I have to constantly, and my husband has to help me remind me of this, that I have to remember the growth over fixed mindset, because there is multiple times where I'll get in a situation and I'm not realizing I'm having a fixed mindset, and I'm getting down on myself and I'm blaming my mental health. And so once you have experienced that growth mindset, it doesn't stay automatic. You have to make it a habit. You have to remember, okay, I'm learning from this. There's a reason I have this trial, and I'm going to become better. But it's not something that is constantly just staying there. You do fall back sometimes, and you do have that fixed mindset, but that's what the whole growth mindset is about, is learning and growing from that. And so that's just something I needed to add in there.
Well said.
Very well said. I think that was such a key point, and that's so crucial, because no matter how your journey is and how courageous and how well you're doing, at the end of the day, we're humans, and we have our vulnerabilities, and we have our we have our fragilities, and we have our triggers, and we can always fumble. But like you said, just don't define it as a failure and a reason to stop, and just keep going ahead. And I think that's what you're doing, Tia. So Dr. Hafza, you go ahead with the question you had. Dr. Hafza? Can you
Dr.
hear me?
Hafsa?
Yes. Yes.
You wanted to ask a question, right?
I do. Okay, so Jeff and Tia both, as advocates, we're all advocates of health over here, and we're also, most of us are teachers. Yes, Visha's been a teacher. I've been a teacher, and growing up, I didn't have the best examples uh, of teachers and advocates who were constantly making sure that those under them are mentally well. For example, I'm teaching my students, and there are often times that I do miss out on the fact to follow up whether my student who's probably not doing so well in their particular task of the day, whether they're doing mentally well or not. So I think that is something that we need to shift in our mindset as advocates, in order to, ensure their mental health is intact, or at least be somewhere aware of it, or be mindful of it. So I am assuming here that maybe perhaps, Jeff, that you had perhaps a similar history of not having the best advocates who were very good as far as assessing our mental status goes. For now onwards, how do you handle this? How do you ensure that people under your coaching, or us as advocates, what could we do better in order to ensure, and in order to be a little more mindful of the mental health status of our students, of the people who are under us, those around us in general? How do we ensure that? What do you suggest, both of you?
I think I think that's a great question, because I think it applies to a lot of people. And I think the number one thing is to educate yourself, because even though I focus on mindset, I focus on all these things, I'm also driven, and I'm also a very big believer in you can become better by doing hard things. And so, using being a basketball coach as an example, I very much had the attitude as, oh, just suck it up, push through it. Don't, quit being a baby, those sort of things. Not looking at it as, this girl might be dealing with mental health issues, whatever, just, you're sad, whatever, suck it up, quit being a baby. And so there's a lot to learn. And so, looking at as someone, I mean, even myself right now, it's something that I've got to continually look at and say, okay, am I approaching this properly? Does this person need me to push them harder? Or do we need to look at this from another angle, because they've got something they're holding back on that, they need to talk about? Because, I'm also very big on, it's not, people will use things as excuses to get around hard things when they can. Not saying that mental health is an excuse, but there's still a lot to be said about doing hard things. You become better. You're able to achieve more when you can accomplish hard things. But as you become more aware and more educated around these things, it helps you to understand how to deal with them better, how to do things better. And even in the course, in my High Achievers Mindset Secret course, Tia's in one of the modules with me. We're talking about mental health, and we talk about it from this aspect, that there was a lot of times that I probably, when I was coaching her, probably should have handled things differently. But from my point of view, I'm just the, masculine coach saying, suck it up, quit being a baby, get on the line. And as I've watched her go through things and educated myself more and learned more and seen more, there probably are times that I would have done things differently if I had been more educated on it.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on
Agreed. Agreed. But we're all struggling with that, right? You learn as you go along. Yes. What were you saying, Tia?
Yeah, going along with that, I think it's just like it's trial and error. Like,
Yes.
It's new to a lot of us, and we're still trying to learn about it. But I think my biggest thing, along with educating yourself, is share your experiences. Share your experiences, be open with it, so people can learn from your experiences.
Absolutely. And one has to remember, I mean, I feel that, sometimes you put too much pressure on yourself. And, you have to remember and tell yourself that I'm human, and right now, this is the emotion that I'm feeling. And it is not necessary that every day has to be a great, productive, successful day. I also think that putting immense amounts of pressure, whereas, of course, pressure is good and goals are good, and, having strategies and the mindset. But I do think quite often, if you're overdriven and if you're a high achieving individual, if you tend to be very ambitious, it's really the pressure that you build on yourself, that, oh, I can't fail, or how can I fail, or I will not let myself fail. So again, there comes the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, that you should be open to experiencing and connecting with yourself every now and then, and checking with yourself every now and then, that, okay, how am I feeling today? And maybe talk about it. Like, Jeff mentioned that, in the past he might have just said to a girl that, suck it up, I don't, whatever. But it could be that, again, and I think for all of us, like having empathy and developing empathy and having that personal connection with whoever you're working with or associated with in your family, your friends, your work, if you do take that little time out and connect and just check in with yourself and the people around you, I guess we become more empathetic and we have a better environment where we can, perform better together. So that's one thing that I have to say. You brought up, Jeff, you brought up your high mindset course. Do talk about it a bit more, as in what is that course about and how does it help, drive into youngsters and high achieving individuals and motivate them.
Okay, thank you. The whole purpose of this course, and especially right now, after what we've gone through for the last year, people really need, one, to have hope. They've got to have hope, but they need direction, clarity with that hope, and they really need some self-belief and confidence. And so a lot of what my High Achievers Mindset Secrets course is about is helping people to not just understand how to achieve things, but how to develop confidence. And people normally, when things are going great, they've got high levels of confidence. When they're not going great, their confidence falls. You need to be able to have the mindset that you understand you've got that confidence and you can keep it there regardless of how things are going. When things are down, doesn't mean you should lose all your confidence. You're still the same person as you were when things were going great. So it's a course to help you develop that confidence, understand when your confidence is low, how to get it back, but also what we've been talking about with the fixed mindset, the growth mindset, understanding it at a deeper level and understanding how to move yourself forward and develop that growth mindset. And what Tia was talking about, when you catch yourself in a fixed mindset, understand how to move forward, understand how to make that switch. And there's so many areas, whether it's, your self-talk, your all those different things that have an impact on that. And a lot of it too, it's, we start the course the same way we start my momentum series, is really understanding where you want to go in life and creating a clarity on your goals. And then I think the most important part is understanding your purpose or your why behind each goal, because that's what's going to help you to get there. You've got to understand why you have those goals, and you need to understand that at a deeper level.
And giving a testimonial to both of these
Absolutely.
courses, since I've taken both of these courses. A year back I didn't have the clarity on to what I want from life. And then after doing the Momentum Series course and following it up with the High Achievers Mindset course, finishing it up this year at the start of this year, I see things differently now. It's just like going to a gym and flexing the muscle again and again and again. So, and the way it shaped my confidence and the way I talk, Jeff already knows my goals, and I don't want to shout or boast about it loud and clear over here on the show. But the amount of self confidence, that the daily self confidence, the boost that you get each day by developing the healthy habits that you need to inculcate by keep on visualizing, because that's what he mentioned in the course, the visualization part, the mental health part, because he also gave a part to Tia in that particular course. So, and I was just I sent him a feedback that it just not only gave the clarity, but I sent him the feedback after doing the course for like after 6 weeks, after practicing all the teachings in that course, and after seeing the results, then I sent him a feedback, because I bought the course, but I just sent him the feedback after applying all those skills. And then he just adds on to that now practice a 90-day rule, what just scares you. So that's what it is. And I believe that everyone, any young individual or any professional who wants a breakthrough in their career or life should definitely opt for that course. And that's what it is about, to have a mentor or have a coach in your life. So thank you, Jeff, for
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody who's watching, do check this course out. Like Nisha said, she's taken it up personally and she's seen great results. And it's an amazing course. And Jeff and Tia, we're so happy to have you and all the things you said. And as Norn Way, we would love to at some point collaborate with you guys and just work with you guys. So that's something that would be exciting as well. So we look forward to that, and we do look forward to having you back on the show. If any one of you has another question, because I do, and then we can wrap up. So do shoot, Hafsa or Misha.
No,
Otherwise,
no,
I'll
no.
just go
You
for it.
you go ahead. I believe that I had already asked my questions. So, Dr. Hafsa, do you have one?
I'm pretty good
Yes,
because I was extremely taken by and very inspired by what Tia is doing. And it has given me a lot of courage to do a lot of things. And I had the one question I had is how am I going to move ahead and forward? Because I feel like even though we're not much of a an older generation, but I still feel like there has been a huge generation gap between us and Generation Z. The fact that there's a lot more awareness of mental health
sorry,
issues.
back there.
Yes,
Yes, what you're saying is
one
that
of
there's
them
a
is. Sorry
generation
about that.
gap.
Yeah, I said that there was a generational gap between us and Generation Z, and there has been a lot of awareness of mental health dilemmas amongst them, and we've developed a lot of more understanding of all of those as well. So normalizing it, talking about it, I find it very inspiring what Tia is doing, and a lot of this is something that I shall be applying a lot more to my life as well. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, thank you.
Great, great. That's excellent. So, as my last question, and this is something that just came to my mind, Jeff. I have seen in my life, and I'm sure you've experienced it with your clients, and I've particularly seen it with people who are extremely highly ambitious and high achieving, and doing very well in their careers or whatever fields they are, and they're like at the top. But quite often, when these individuals, and this again goes back to the part where I said to take too much pressure, and because again they've been conditioned to be, for example, a golden boy or the family, or the rock star, or the the corporate firm that they're working at, or a very successful surgeon or whatever, like a great teacher. But I've quite often seen that when they experience a setback, um, I've seen people really sort of just crumble, and sort of it's really affecting them. And uh, and it's as though, and when I've talked to them, it's mostly been about, well, I how can this happen to me, or how could I do this, because I'm meant to be successful and I'm so good, and I perhaps haven't lived up to my potential, and there's a lot of guilt and pressure, and personal sort of almost shaming that they do. And I've seen people's careers just go south. What do you want to say to those kind of individuals, and how do you
I think,
coach them?
yeah, and that's a great example of exactly what we're talking about with the growth and fixed mindset, because what they're doing is they're identifying themselves with that failure, that failure means they are a failure. And we've seen it over this last year, how many things have fallen apart because of the pandemic, because of the economy, all these different things that were out of people's control, but it happened. And those people are identifying that failure as themselves. And as you coach people on that, you need to help them to understand what they have control of and what they don't have control of, and where there influence is, where there isn't, and kind of how to move forward with those things, because there are a lot of things over this last year that people had no control of, and they've got to accept those results, and most importantly, learn from them. What are they going to do to learn from the experience to move forward? Because there's a lot of things that were out of their control, but if they face the exact same situation, how do they deal with it differently the next time, right? And again, it might be something that is out of their control still, but they've got to learn how to look at things and learn from the situation and not identify themselves as that outcome, because you look at so many people that have gone through a loss, a business failure, whatever it is, and they turn around and create something bigger and better. Well, it's because they've looked at that loss, they've learned from it, and they don't look at that loss wasn't me. Now I'm going to take my experience, what I've learned, and go do better things. And that's really what we've got to look at, because there's things we can control and there's things we can't. And so we've got to really put our focus and effort on the things that we can control.
Absolutely. Very, very well said. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a great answer. And with that, we will wrap up. We were very, very happy and excited, and we're truly grateful for the two of you to have appeared here, given us your time and all your insight, sharing your experiences. Yeah, we really admire you for your courage and coming out, and talking to us here. Your dad, of course, is one of our favorite guests, so we would love for him to come and talk on our show on a monthly basis if possible. But it's been, and you've been a delight as well. It's been a really, really engaging conversation, and we could go on and on, but time is limited. So again, from the Norn Way team, thank you so much. And anybody who's any more questions, please put them down, and we shall get back to them. Do check out Jeff's High Achiever course, because it will really help you in your
And
life.
it will not only help you, but also get not only life, personal, professional, all aspects of life. So do check out that course. And with that, have a great weekend. And bye from the Norn Way team. So thank you, Jeff and Tia, for coming
Any
on
parting
board.
messages that you have to give, Jeff or Tia?
Do you want to start? Any parting messages?
I'm just happy we were able to get on and talk more about this. I always enjoy an opportunity to talk about mental health and how we can grow from it. So thank you.
Yeah,
Great.
and thanks again for having me on. I always like getting on with you ladies. I really like your show. I think the biggest thing to remember is we need to put success habits in place to help us get to the next level of whatever it is we're trying to do. And one of the things that I say a lot is it's the little things that matter. And the little things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. And so you need to get consistent. You need to put those success habits in place. And as you put them in place and compound them and do them consistently, you're going to find success in life.
Wow, very well said. I think that's something I'm going to just repeat again as a parting. The little things can be very easy to do, but are not so easy to do. That's what you said, right? And I think that's fantastic. I mean, that's such a great paradox, and it's so true, because quite often you find yourself in a loop, and it's really the little thing, that the baby steps that you're not making, and you're stuck on that big goal and big step. So thank you so much again. And everybody have a great weekend. You guys, thank you. Have a great day. So we're going to be signing off. Looking forward to connecting with you both again soon.
Bye.